Hey guys, welcome to the Bird Brothers episode 5. Two brothers in Ohio, lifelong Eagles fans, diehard Eagles fans. And we're going to follow up last week's episode. We're going to follow up this week with ranking the NFC East defensive position groups. So we're going to rank in order 1 through 4, who's got the best D-line, the best linebacker group, the best corners, the best safeties. So the first thing I noticed, man, when I started doing this, there's some variables, like you got to account for what defense they're playing. Like,
right.
The Eagles have Hassan Reddick. He's listed as a linebacker. The Cowboys have Micah Parsons. He's listed as a linebacker.
Right.
But they're primarily rushers.
Yeah.
So we'll start with you, Ryan. I don't know what order you have, but do you want to go? We'll try to go in the same order. So I have mine D-line, and then corner, and then safety, and then linebackers.
Okay. Yeah, so I just have mine D-line, linebacker, corner, safety. I just kind of work my way out. But, yeah, we can start. And again, this is opinions. Everything's going to ruffle feathers. The NFC East is, it's a competitive division. I hate the Cowboys just as much as Cowboy fans hate the Eagles. We try to be as unbiased as possible. And again, these are just our opinions. I went a little bit off last year.
But they are right.
Yeah, but they're obviously right.
There are opinions, but we're also right.
Right. You can have your own opinion as long as it's the same as mine. But no, I go off, I'm going off statistically from last year, but I'm also trying to project and see there's coaching changes. The Giants, have some coaching changes. Everyone every year has some type of, whether it's positional or head coach or coordinator. So again, these are our opinions. If you have any other opinions, comment, throw some, I like when people comment, whether you tell us we're wrong or whatever. I like to hear other opinions, and, maybe you'll sway. Like, again, some of these I could go either way. I could flip a few guys here and there. But yeah, to get started with the defensive line, I went Eagles, Commanders, and I struggled a little bit on that because the Eagles weren't great sacking the quarterback last year. It seemed like, we just couldn't get off the edge. Josh Sweat played pretty well. Derek Barnett's been, to me, a letdown. I expected bigger things. So he's been outperformed by Sweat. We knew what kind of caliber player Sweat was as well. He just had some injury concerns and issues in college. But yeah, I think the addition of Jordan Davis and Reddick, I think will be a big guy off the edge. So I ended up leaning towards Eagles. But that's one that I could probably be convinced. Commanders, they're loaded, man, and Chase Young's just a freak. Obviously different player than Fletcher Cox, but I mean he gets after it. So I went Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. I like Micah Parsons. Lawrence, we'll see. I feel like he's a little inconsistent. But yeah, I do think overall talent on the D-line, I think we're us and the Commanders could be talked about at 1, and I think it's obvious that then it goes Cowboys, Giants. Which, Giants added what's his name from Oregon, Thibodeau. So, could be a huge addition. They could be, who knows? They could be the number 1 defense line statistically at the end of the year. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I went with that just for the depth we have at D-line, and now with Jordan Davis is now our number 2, maybe. We still have Milton Williams,
Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, Hargrave. It's a deep defensive line. If we're talking just starters, I might lean towards the Commanders if you're just picking 4 guys to go.
Me
but
too.
As far as depth, I think we have the deepest line. But yeah, what'd you have for that?
Yeah, I had it exactly the same, man. And I had some of the same little notes and explanations. So D-line, by the way, D-line and linebackers on both groups, I was incorporating Hassan Reddick for the Eagles. Right. I was incorporating Micah Parsons. So the way I tried to view it was I saw it as Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. And the Eagles, this was kind of the thought process for people who were like, what the hell? I literally had a note here. Eagles, I chose the Eagles number one because of overall depth.
Yeah.
And the number of rushers. So it's a number of pass rushers that we have. And I specifically noted not because of top end talent.
Right.
Because after I did these 4 position groups, I listed some of the top tier talent in our division on defense. And just on defense, well, to stick on the rushers, I had Chase Young, Parsons, Jonathan Allen, and I left Fletcher Cox off the list because I still think he's a good player, and I really hope that he can still bump up like to that 7 sack, maybe more. His best year was 10.5 sacks. He's obviously an interior rusher, so but he's struggled in our defense. I really hope that Jordan Davis gets him more one-on-one matchups and we see an uptick in sack production. But that was kind of the thought process. I think Micah Parsons is like really special. I think Chase Young is really special. We don't have a guy like that off the edge. Not even Reddick is in that type of caliber in my eyes. He's had great production, but I don't put him in that tier. So yeah, I said Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. I'll note one more thing is I think the Eagles have a very strong defensive tackle group.
Yeah,
They've been the strongest, I think, by far. Even though the Redskins starters, you could argue they're Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, they might be the best, but we've got Fletcher Cox, we've got Javon Hargrave, we've got Jordan Davis, who people forget, or what we don't know how good of a pass rusher, but they drafted him that high to be a pass rusher. So the guy's dropped 25 pounds.
Yeah.
He's athletic. He's got the ability. We'll see if we can get the production. And then we got Milton Williams as our 4th defensive tackle. And you mentioned Barnett. And I'm going to talk about the Giants here in a second too. So it's not going to be all Eagles, but obviously Barnett was drafted 14th overall. I believe that's a disappointment.
Yeah.
But he's our 7th or 8th.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, for a 7th or 8th best pass rusher, Derek Barnett, he's good, man. He's good against the run. He's aggressive, sometimes too aggressive. And you never know. We're still holding out for the late bloomer scenario like Brandon Graham.
Right.
So we'll see. The last thing I'll say, man, is the Giants. I want to give the Giants some love because
like we beat up on the Giants a little bit. But I mean, all we can do is we're going off of what we saw last year. Obviously Thibodeau's a stud, I think. He could be, but he could be, he could really transform that D-line. But if you're not getting pushed on the interior, then the edge rushers are going to be dominated all day. They're going to slide guards out. And that's what you get when you have a guy like Fletcher Cox, like Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, interior. And that I think we might see an uptick in Barnett, and then Reddick. Reddick could have a career year because he has 2 studs interior, Jordan Davis and Fletcher pushing the pocket, and they can't send any help. So you go against a weaker tackle. So it's all going to depend on how much push they get, I'm not ever going to root for the Giants unless they're playing the Cowboys, but I don't know. Who knows? We'll see an uptick, I think, in their D-line just because of Thibodeau's a stud, but
they should.
If they don't get pushed on the interior, then it's just going to be him getting double teamed all year.
Yeah. You mentioned maybe we see an uptick in Barnett. I think that Josh Sweat, he's the one that signed the $40-50 million contract extension. He's an ascending player. He had 7.5 sacks last year. The Giants, Elise Awajue, or who I'm talking about?
Elise Anjali or something like that. Yeah.
I can't pronounce his name, but he's same position as Reddick, Micah Parsons, that Sam linebacker, who's mostly a rusher. He had 8 sacks last year. So I tried to kind of glance at guys because I know kind of who's pretty good, but I didn't know what kind of production was really there in some cases. But the Giants, man, to give them some love. I was a big fan of Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
But he's a run stuffer. He's a good player. He's a run stuffer. Like, I think that Dexter Lawrence is kind of the floor for Jordan Davis. And I know Jordan Davis has that. He has more athleticism. Hopefully that can turn to more pass rush, at least more push in the pocket, more sack production. I'm a big fan of Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
They're two defensive tackles. You could argue they're the best. They're in the conversation. I don't think they are, and then Thibodeau and Olajuwon. Sorry, I can't say that last name. But
I think it's Oziz Ojulari, something
like that. Yeah. Thibodeau, man, I think he could be the best player in the draft. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to his desire to be great. No one's going to know until we get him on the field. He's got tons of talent. Can't wait to see him go up against Jordan Mailata. It's going to be fun.
Do you think, before we move on to linebackers, do you think that the NFC East is the best total defensive line?
I didn't do the homework on that.
Didn't really either. I was just kind of, as we're talking about it, I mean, as you're listing names, man, it's a loaded, division for defensive line.
Yeah, it's almost so good to say, well, I don't need to know what's in the other divisions. So I couldn't say it's not a researched or educated guess, but I would definitely think so. They've got to be one of them.
Right.
And an underrated, potentially underrated signing, the Cowboys picking up Dante Fowler.
Yeah.
He would be their third best rusher. Dexter Lawrence is obviously a very talented top tier player. I think his production dipped a bit, kind of like a Fletcher Cox kind of scenario. He might have been hurt last year too. I don't remember.
That's what I was going to ask. I feel like he had injuries last year.
Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I think that's definitely the strongest group. We have this is a strong defensive line in it's going to be a very physical division, and we're not talking much about offense, but when you look at these defensive lines, man, you wonder who's going to be in the front runner for who's going to win the most games, who's going to win our division. You look at this defensive line, you're like, well, who's got offensive linemen?
Yeah.
Who's got the offensive linemen to match up with these? Because everyone's got a good D-line.
Right.
And the Eagles and the Cowboys, I would say, are at the top of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll be also interested to see the Giants guys, Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, go up against some of these linebackers. But okay, moving on to the linebackers. You go ahead, Ryan. What did you have?
So I kind of went off of, I kind of counted Parsons in two categories because he can play two categories. He might be the most versatile guy on these defenses. So I had the Cowboys at one. I'm a big fan of Van Der Esch. I think he's a just all around good linebacker. Kind of do it all. And then Parsons is just, obviously he can rush, he can drop into coverage. And he can play the slot guys a little bit. So I had Cowboys.
He can run faster than the slot receivers.
Yeah.
He ran a 4.3.
He's a freak athlete, man. So that was a big reason. So I had Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants. And Eagles and Commanders, I'm not a big fan of the Eagles linebackers. I like Edwards. I just don't feel like I've seen enough yet to be like, he's a legit starter in the NFL like for years to come. But just off of drafting Nakobe Dean, I like Nakobe Dean a lot. I think he'll be one of our starters, probably immediately. I can't see a scenario where we go more than 3 or 4 games in and we're like, all right, this guy's still not playing. But yeah, that's what I went. I think it's Cowboys are probably at one pretty easily because Van Der Esch is better than anyone we have that we've seen yet so far. So, and then adding Parsons gives them versatility. So yeah, Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants is what I had there. And again, I feel like we're thumping on the Giants, but.
Well, they had the worst record.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're coming off the worst year. They're coming off of a coaching change,
which is good. I mean, they might see it flip the script. They have talent. We know they have talent.
They do.
Okay. They've picked up.
I'm not a big fan of their quarterback.
No, I'm not either. I'm really not either. I think they should have grabbed, maybe a quarterback. But I also don't think that I hate how they're overvalued. Beginning of the college season, they'll talk about guys, and then as the season goes on, their play stays at the same par. Their play doesn't improve, but as the season goes on, they start shooting up boards. So I'm not saying, shoot up and grab a guy at 5 when you project him as a 30th pick, but I do think that maybe they should have looked at the quarterback position, Corral, Pickett. I think both those guys would be better off. We've seen flashes of Daniel Jones, but I wasn't excited about Daniel Jones at all when he came in. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this guy's gonna be a stud. Like, he's got some good attributes. He's had flashes of great play, but then very inconsistent, which the line doesn't help. He's had a shaky offensive line. But yeah, I think they'd be in a whole different ballgame if they had a guy who could come in and just, do something simple like a I don't know, 30 and 15, 27 and 12, something like that. They would be in a whole different scenario. So
yeah. So linebackers we had pretty close, but I did flip the Commanders and Eagles. So I had Cowboys number 1, best linebacker group, and then the Commanders, and then the Eagles, and then the Giants. Although the Giants, Blake Martinez is a very good player.
Yeah.
At least he was in the other scheme that before they change coaches, they might change scheme. I don't know. But Martinez was very productive in their defense. The Cowboys, again, Van Der Esch is good if he stays healthy. He's an impact player, very good in coverage, runs well. Micah Parsons is a freak. Probably he's the most athletic. He might be he's probably the most athletic defensive player in the entire league. Obviously he doesn't play corner, right? So you can't really say if there's a guy that plays corner and safety. I mean, you can't compare those two athletes, but for a guy to rush off the edge like that, 13 sacks his rookie year, he runs a 4.3. He was drafted to be a more of a traditional linebacker.
Yeah.
Like, he can stop the run, he can go sideline to sideline. He's athletic enough to run, and he should be able to cover pretty well. And he can rush like that. Like, you can line that guy up anywhere.
Well, speed to power. His speed to power is crazy. You see him fly off the edge and he'll just beat a tackle around the edge, but he has the power as well to bull rush, and he can kind of do it all. But then he can also, like you said, drop in and into coverage and cover your slot guy, cover receiver pretty well.
Yeah.
So
if you took him off the Cowboys, I wouldn't be very high. I mean, he's the best defensive player in our division, and that's my opinion. I think
I mean, if you go off of like projections, sure, but it's only been 1 year, so it's gotta be.
Yeah, he not in production. There's guys who are going to go in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, right now, like, who do I think is going to impact the NFC East on the defensive side of the ball the most this year? I have no reason to think it's not Micah Parsons. Chase Young is a freak. I love Chase Young. You can't move Chase Young.
No, you can't.
A different spot. He can't play linebacker. He can't. He's not going to line up as a middle linebacker and rush up the middle. Or he's just versatile. Versatile. So, big time fan of Micah Parsons. I wanted Micah Parsons really bad in the draft. We got Devonta Smith, great player. Offense is, more, it's a higher priority these days. But man, Micah Parsons would have been an amazing addition for us. Linebackers, Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Giants. The Commanders, I liked Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis.
Yeah.
It's a good combination. The Eagles, TJ Edwards, good instinctual player, good against the run. If this was 15 years ago, he might be one of the better linebackers.
Right.
Kind of like a Zach Thomas. He used to play for the Miami Dolphins. Short, against the run. I'm very excited about Nakobe Dean, and we signed Kaiser White. We gave Kaiser White more money than we've given another linebacker.
Yeah.
As I can remember.
Probably Bradham.
Yeah. And that's after Braden was with us for a few years and we won a Super Bowl. We gave Braden some money. So Kaiser White, I think he had over 100 tackles. He was a former safety. He's athletic. But that's a projection.
Yeah.
Kobe Dean and Kaiser White, they're projections. The Eagles have a history of not being able to fill the linebacker position. We've had a lot of guys we went out and tried to get, and they did not work out. So then the Giants, Martinez, I like. Ajaro, Aziz. I count him more of a rusher. I don't know how well he can play linebacker, but that's my order for the linebackers. You want to do corner next?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
So corner, we're gonna catch probably a lot of negative comments about my ranking, at least. We'll see what yours is, but I had Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. I'll just start. I mean, I think the Eagles are pretty obvious. Picking up Bradberry, I think he's a perfect number 2, opposite of Slay, and then Devonta Maddox is going to be in the slot where he needs to be. I think he's one of the best slot corners in the league when he plays the slot, consistently. But the problem is it's hard to get a good read on someone when you're in the slot here, but then you're out on, whoever, a top 5 receiver in the league on the outside alone, and you're 5'8". Yeah, 5'9".
5'8".
I don't know. He could be. I was thinking 5'8", 5'9", in that range, but just small, great player, for what he does. But, if I ask, I don't know, you're just changing what he does. It's like when they try to take a running quarterback and no, you're not going to do that anymore. And then you're just going to play in the pocket and do everything that you're not real good at. And he's good at coverage, but he's small. He's going to get pushed around a little bit. So putting him on the inside where he needs to be, I think it's going to be tough to throw the ball on the Eagles. I think I saw Slay gave up, I think it was a QBR of 78 when targeted. As a team, though, we did not do well we gave up a lot of completion percentage. And I think that's just because I also think it's because of scheme. We play this bend but don't break style, which I'm not a fan of. It works if you play well in the red zone, but if you don't stop at anyone in the red zone, then your whole scheme is shot. You're just literally letting them do what they want. They want to chip away, drive downfield, and score. And so now that we have a legitimate number 2, I think there's no question that we're the number 1 projection, obviously, of the division. Cowboys, I think everyone's probably going to complain saying Trevon Diggs had however many interceptions and this and that. And it's true, but they're going to take a dip. If you think Trevon Diggs is going to have, what do you have, 8?
11.
Okay, so I'm way off.
Number 1 in the league.
Yeah, legit. But, and again, this is going to be Cowboys fans saying, I'm only saying this because I'm an Eagles fan, whatever. Go back and
through the Cowboys, man,
Yeah, but they're horrible.
I'm just kidding.
No, but if you go back and watch the interceptions, a lot of interceptions are where he's trailing a guy and the ball's thrown behind the receiver and it kind of hits on his hip and Trevon Diggs is there, or it's a tipped. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I think he's a very good player based off the 1 year we saw, but he's not going to have 11 interceptions. So to put the Cowboys, again, I'm going off of statistics from last year, but also what I think is realistically going to happen and who your number 2 is, who your slot guy is. It's not just about who has the best corner. It's your whole group. And which is why our D-line was above the Commanders, because we had depth.
I think Slay is a better corner than Diggs.
Yeah, I think Diggs is probably, well, I don't know. It's hard to say. I was going to say he's more athletic.
Than who?
Than Slay, but Slay's 31, 30, what is he, 32? But
Slay ran a 4.3.
Yeah.
He's athletic.
I'm saying now Diggs is going to be more athletic. He's obviously in his, he's 7 years younger.
Slay's been doing it longer. I like Slay, man.
No, I like Slay a lot. Very technically sound, but he can also recover because he has the speed. He's a very good corner. He's the best corner in our division. But I do think, I don't know. I'm trying not to dog. I think Slay's a stud. I'm not saying anything bad about Slay. But Trevon Diggs is very talented. He's, versatile. He's a big guy. but he's not going to have 11 interceptions. And I think that's where people are going to get irritated looking at it, like, oh, well, they're just going to immediately go to how many interceptions he had. So I look at it from that standpoint. I don't think that they have any other guys where I'm like, oh, he's a really good corner. And we know there's going to be a downtick. So you're not going to have that many interceptions. You're going to have 3 or 4 probably. And you're looking at a whole different team. So that's the scary thing, was when your team does things like that, where you come out and your team leads the league in sacks, and one guy had 8 interceptions. It's not going to do that again. So naturally, you're going to play what they say worse. But that's my main reason. I think the Commanders are just more balanced. I think they have better depth. Again, the Giants are always in last place, it seems like, but I could argue that the Giants could be at the 3rd spot. Based on, let's see what their scheme does. I like their talent, but if I'm weighing in on stats and projections, the stats alone from the Cowboys are going to bump them up a little bit. But I would not be surprised if the Giants were better statistically, like their defensive backs were better than the Cowboys. I don't think they're going to be that great this year.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had similar order. So I had the Eagles, combination of Slay, Bradberry, Maddox. We don't have a lot of depth.
No.
But those 3 guys, I'm anxious to see who will be the 4th. We have a Zach McPherson. What's a 4th-round pick? He'd probably be the guy right now. Got some undrafted guys who might be able to fit into a zone scheme, like Mario Goodrich and Tay Gowan. He's got length. Got another guy who can play nickel pretty well, Josiah Scott.
Yeah.
But the reason I put the Eagles there were because of Slay, Bradberry. And, I had the Cowboys number 2. Thought process was, I'm not a big Trevon Diggs fan. But you can't ignore 11 interceptions. So I'll give him his kudos. If we do this again next year, we'll see where he falls. So I had the Cowboys with number 2 mainly because of Trevon Diggs. Anthony Brown's a pretty good corner.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like a big concern. He's a good player. They've got guys who are athletic. Kelvin Joseph, I think, was a 5-star recruit. Got in some trouble at LSU. He's athletic. He could do something. He could play a bigger role this year. The Commanders, I thought maybe they should be, like, if you're factoring in their top 2 guys, Kendall Fuller and William Jackson, maybe they should bump up above the Cowboys. Another thing is that we haven't talked about is when you think about cornerback play, and you can only factor in so many things.
Right.
When you factor in cornerback play, you're thinking, well, who can rush the passer? It's like nobody can cover for 5 seconds.
Right.
Who can get to the quarterback in 2.5 seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds? And if you look, the Eagles we have the Eagles 1 and the Commanders 2 on D-line. I've got the Eagles 1 on corner, Commanders 3. You could argue the Commanders might perform better just because they're D-line.
Yeah.
Chase Young and Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and Montez Sweat. So, but I think Commanders are pretty cool, pretty good. That's a good. It's not like they were blown away. I just put the Cowboys there because of Diggs. I heard a little, I think it was like a short or a reel of Jalen Ramsey talking about Trevon Diggs, and he was giving him respect, but he was also explaining something important. He said, hey, he plays a different style to me. He plays off, and because of his style, because he plays off and his eyes are on the quarterback a lot, he's going to get more interceptions. He's going to be around the ball because he's playing looser coverage. He also gave up a crap load of yards.
He's a gambler.
Yeah, so he's playing off, eyes on the quarterback. He's not trying to like pocket the pot, hip to hip, lock guys down. He's a gambler. His eyes are on the quarterback. He's playing off. Ramsey comes up, plays press. running with a guy, trying to find the ball last second. They're just two different style of players. But that's why you see the uptick in interceptions. And you've got to wonder, well, do I want 11 interceptions? Do I want 11 turnovers for my offense to get the ball back? Or do I want a guy that knocks the ball down, doesn't give up touchdowns? Either way, you get the ball back. You could argue interceptions can lead to better field position.
Yeah.
Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants. I did like on the Giants. I like Darnay Holmes, their nickel guy, really good 5-star guy out of high school. I liked him. And then Adoree Jackson.
Adoree Jackson is solid.
Always been a fan of him. Elite athlete, solid corner.
Yeah.
He could be great. He could be a great corner based off his athleticism. I don't know why he's not. But they lost Bradberry, and the guy that's projected to start, I don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So that's what I had for corner. Let's go to safety. And I think the safety was definitely the weakest group, I think, in our division.
Yeah, for sure. I struggled with safety, to be honest. I looked at statistics. Projections are kind of hard because it's based off of scheme a lot. We played the bend, don't break. And even the difference from the 3-4 and 4-3 is big because, they might have guys and, we run, I feel like we always have a guy up in the box a lot. So it's going to depend on what schemes you're running, but I struggled with it a little bit. I even went to like PFF, started looking at that stuff, which I'm not a huge, I don't throw my eggs in one basket, like, oh, whatever PFF says. Because if you do that, man, I actually did that for corners. Trevon Diggs doesn't grade well through PFF because I think his gambling style, he has 11 interceptions, flashy plays, but he gives up a lot. But going off safeties, I struggled. I went with the Cowboys, just kind of off athleticism. They signed Malik Hooker. I think, if he gets back to, what we thought he could be coming out of Ohio State, I think athleticism, they're pretty solid. But this is literally one where I feel like the right conversation could convince me it could just be all flipped, So I'll just give you mine. So I went Cowboys, Eagles. I like Anthony Harris. Right now, Tart is listed as our other safety.
Yeah,
we'll see. I assumed it would be Epps, just off of experience, and the Eagles seem to like Epps. But I went Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants, and again, it was a tough one for me to grade and try to project. There's not a lot of safety statistics. You see tackles. The biggest one you'll find is missed tackles, which I feel like we've struggled with our linebackers and safeties missing tackles. But yeah, give me yours and we'll see. Like I said, I could flip on all these. I do think the Cowboys have the most upside potentially.
Yeah. So yeah, this is way different, which is good. Okay, so I had Giants, Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles. So the reason I put the Giants first was Xavier McKinney.
Yeah.
Pretty good player. And Julian Love, I think, is a pretty good player. He was a corner at Notre Dame. I think he's been a pretty solid safety. I glanced at some statistics too, because I know who guys are. I have this vague idea of how good they are. But I just once in a while I'd click on him and say, well, how well did he perform? The most talented safety in the entire division is probably Malik Hooker.
Yeah.
We live in Ohio, so we're Ohio State fans. Dude, you go watch Malik Hooker's college film and
it's freak.
There are not many people that make plays like he made. Like they'd have him as a single high safety, and he would go from far hash to the sideline. Ball skills incredible, one-handed interceptions. He did it multiple times. It wasn't like a fluke. Not a great tackler, not a good downhill physical guy.
No, it's just a ball hawk.
ball hawk that can cover ground. He's disappointed in the pros. Obviously, he's a first-round pick, and the Colts let him know.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he tore both his ACLs. I know he at least tore.
Who knows what he is now?
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was going off of, is just upside. I loved him at Ohio State. I think he had his rookie year, maybe. I think it was his rookie year. He had a good year, or it could have been his second. Whatever year, he was either first or second, but he did tear his ACL. If I'm not mistaken, he had 2 knee injuries. So I mean, 2 seasons you missed out. 2 seasons you missed out on growth, strength, learning new techniques, like just overall experience. So, who knows? I think it's a great pickup for the Cowboys. Much as I hate to say it, but
I think they had him last year, didn't they?
Yeah, but I don't think he played much, and I don't know if that was an injury thing. I don't know. I don't remember seeing him on the field much. I can't imagine it's a talent thing, because it's not like the Cowboys are loaded at safety. But yeah, I mean, I like McKinney. I'm not a huge fan of Love. But I could be convinced to completely flip it. I wasn't real certain on any of these. I do like Anthony Harris, and PFF grades Anthony Harris pretty well. I think like sixth or 7th last year. But he also had less snaps. So he played
he had injuries and stuff, right?
Yeah, if you compare him to some people, there's guys that had 380 snaps, and I think he was in the 260, 270 range. So it depends on, how many snaps you're playing.
How did Tart, how Tart graded out?
I don't. He wasn't. I think I looked into probably like 25-ish, top 25-ish. McKinney was in there. And then there's big hype on the Cowboys. What's the guy's name? He's like a 7th year guy. So he's not like a young, new guy. But
was it Israel or Donovan?
What was the other one?
Donovan Willis or Donovan Wilson or Israel Mukuama.
So,
was he the safety?
Yeah.
Jordan Lewis. He plays some safety. He's a corner.
No, I don't think that's who it was. I don't know. If you said the name, I think I remember it. But
Ron Curse.
Yeah, Ron Curse. Yeah. So
he's talented.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype around him. So I kind of looked into him a little bit. Not a lot of statistics where I'm like, they're jumping off the page where I'm like, oh, this guy, like, he's gonna be a studs. But I think, he seemed pretty solid based off what I saw. And then, just the upside of Hooker, healthy. And really the Eagles are at 2 for me just because of Harris. I like Harris. I don't think he's a big flashy ball hawk. He's not going to light anybody up. But I think he's consistent. He'll make the tackles, he'll be where he needs to be, and, things like that. And if you, kind of put the corners into the mix, because obviously corners are going to help your safeties. I think it's that the Eagles will probably be up there, just based off cornerback play as well. But again, I wasn't real certain on any of this on the safeties. There's not a lot of, it's not a flashy position, especially now that you're not allowed to hit anybody. Back in the day, you could pick up, obviously Brian Dawkins. You could talk about all these guys, but now those guys are kind of non-existent. So
I don't know one hard-hitting safety in the league.
I'm sure there's guys that can, or maybe that's how they grew up, but now they're not allowed to.
I don't know one guy with that reputation.
No, I don't really either.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. My favorite player of all time is Brian Dawkins. Like, it changes the game. I understand there's safety concerns and all that stuff, but there's always, it's a very physical sport. There's always going to be safety concerns. You can only make it so safe. People know what they're doing. They know what they're signing up for. But it just changed the game. Tell me that people weren't thinking about that going over the middle. Like, okay, like you're a slot receiver and you're like, all right, I'm going to be running a hell of a lot of slants today, and Brian Dawkins is over there. Like, it changes your mindset. It changes how they're going to run their offense. And now you're not allowed to hit people. And you're like, well, if they do hit us, we get 15 yards. So it's definitely different. It's unfortunate. But it is what it is with the safety concerns and stuff. I understand, for the most part. But yeah, again, I don't know. I wish it was different. I wish that we could, have players like that. But yeah. So not really. Go ahead.
I didn't know Anthony Harris ranked so high, but
And it might not have been sixth. I'm not. I mean, they can fact check me, or you can fact check me on it. But I know it was higher because. So I don't pay for PFF. I know, like, you'll click on it, it'll show you like certain categories, their overall grade, and it'll show you like one or two categories, and the rest are locked. So it'll show positions. But I know Anthony Harris was like, you click on it, only shows I think 10, 12 guys before you scroll, and he's up there. But again, you only get like the one grade, so you get his overall grade and things like that. But it's interesting because I don't know how they do all of it, but I do believe in some of it, the analytics side of it. But I don't throw everything out like, oh, so they said this is the best guy, so he is. But my Lotta I was looking at that, graded at 87, I think, 87.8. So really well for a guy who never played football a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Eagles, the reason I put them last, well, number one, it's like, where should they expect to be ranked with how they have handled the position,
Right.
I do like Marcus Epps.
Yeah.
I think that he has made plays. He's played well. He's played tight, good zone coverage. He's made plays. I like him. Plus, he's young.
Yeah.
So I like him. Anthony Harris is a sound, solid veteran. I hope to see more from him because I did see a few flashes where I was like, wow, that was Anthony Harris. Like, that was a pretty good play.
Thinking about also, like, everything's new. Everything was new last year. We saw Anthony Harris, I think his best career year was under most of these guys that are on our coaching staff. So bringing him in, they knew that he could fit into this scheme. In this scheme, it doesn't seem like we need a flashy ball hawk type guy who can go sideline to sideline. We just need a guy to make tackles and just don't make mistakes. Make tackles and don't let people get behind you. I don't need you to run from hash to hash and, knock a ball down, light people up, which is good because we don't have that. So I think, like you said, Marcus Epps is very sound. He'll do his job, and he's young, so maybe he'll evolve. And then same with Anthony Harris, very sound and does the job.
What do you know about the Redskins safeties?
Not a lot. Again, there's not a lot of statistical stuff. I'm not going to sit here and try to, act like I know everything about them because I don't. The names. If you're a football fan, you watch, you hear the names, you see flash plays here and there, but I don't know enough to come out here and grade them.
My understanding is that Cameron Curl was pretty good young player. McCain, I don't know anything about.
Wasn't McCain? I thought McCain was a corner before. Was he not?
He could have been. He's 5'9", 196.
For some reason when I saw his name, I was thinking he was a corner, but I don't know. Like I said, I've heard good things about Curl. I think he was a guy I looked up on PFF, graded pretty well. But who knows, man? It's going to be a lot of scheme-based stuff. That's my biggest thing on why I think the Cowboys are going to take a dip. I don't think they were great last year defensively. If you look at them statistically against the pass, they weren't good. They couldn't stop the pass, and their offense is crazy. Their offense is putting up big numbers, so it's keeping them in games. They were winning games. But defensively, they weren't great. And they weren't great with 11 interceptions from one guy. So
13 sacks from one guy.
Right. And if you tell me that if you told me that, you're like, yeah, this is what our offense did. And then we had a guy on defense have 11 interceptions and one guy had 13 sacks. You'd be like, damn, like they're the best team in the league. But they weren't statistically. So their defense is going to take a dip. I think Parsons is going to play well. He's still going to have sacks. Trevon Diggs is going to have a few interceptions, but he's not going to have 11. So I think you're going to see a dip from the Cowboys. I just don't think you're going to see anything. And they didn't go out and pick anybody up where I was like, all right, this guy's really going to change that. They're going to be able to stop the run. Now they're going to do this. So we'll see.
They signed that Dante Fowler, but I just saw a thing the other day.
Wait, let me guess. Did he get in trouble?
No, they didn't get in trouble. There was a thing about how Von Miller offered to sign. He was going to sign with the Cowboys for less money than he ended up signing for, but not that much less. Like they offered him like way less.
Yeah,
that would have been not
Von Miller
exciting.
play.
Yeah,
He can play, bro.
yeah.
No,
Where'd he go? Where'd he end up going? Do you remember?
didn't he go to the Rams?
Is he? Well, he was there, but I don't know if he was.
I thought he didn't stay.
I think he moved somewhere else.
Hmm.
He's playing. Oh yeah, he's playing for the Broncos again. Oh no, I'm sorry. He went to the Buffalo Bills.
Hmm.
That's which is exciting because they're a team that's like on the cusp. They got the quarterback. They won some games. Now they add Von Miller to their teams. That's
I would say they probably have the best safety duo.
yeah. One of which used to play for the Eagles.
Yeah,
but he played corner for the Eagles. Jordan Poyer.
We've seen this story before. Remember Alejandro Villanueva? We've tried him at defensive end, and he just wasn't good enough. Couldn't cut it, and then he was like a 3-time Pro Bowl left tackle.
Yeah, that's one thing. And our talk's pretty much done. But like, one thing I don't love about the league right now is everything moving towards less time on the field, easier practices, less time to develop, because there's guys. I love those types of stories. I love the Jordan Mailata story. I love the Andrew Villanueva story. I wish he would have been an Eagle.
Yeah.
Jordan Poyer, like late round pick, cut from the Eagles team, picked up in the Bills, ends up staying on safety. He's a Pro Bowl safety.
Yeah.
There's so many guys that come through a team, and it's like, how many reps do they get? How many opportunities do they really get?
Look at like the big Brandon Graham thing. We played him in different positions. Chip Kelly's trying to drop him into coverage, do all these crazy things. I mean, if that was in today's game, like who knows if he'd even be in the league? He may have got 3-4 seasons. Like, okay, then he bounces around from team to team. And luckily we're like, hey, this guy just needs to be rushing the passer. Like we're not dropping him into coverage. So yeah, it's crazy. And that's like what we talked about when we were ranking like quarterbacks and stuff. And you're talking about quarterbacks are not getting, years of time. Not usually. They're usually getting their first contract, if they even get that. And if they don't produce, then they're done, because they're throwing the ball so much more than they used to. Same with the reason like the running backs are kind of becoming obsolete. Like there's still stud running backs, but teams are less and less every year likely to come up and grab a running back in the first round. I mean, in a couple of years, we might not see running backs go in the first round at all.
And I've changed I don't know about you, but I've changed my opinion on all that. I've changed my perspective on the running back position.
Yeah, I agree with what they're doing. It sucks I agree with where it's going. You don't need that guy. What you need is an offensive line and consistent carries and consistent pass play. And you can have, a 3rd, 4th round running back be a 1,000-yard rusher for years. So I get it. There are guys, that are just freaks that can do everything, like the Christian McCaffreys. Yeah, but Kenny Gainwell, let's say him, or Miles Sanders, or whoever you want to say. I'm a bigger fan of Gainwell.
Than Miles Sanders?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Miles Sanders is just inconsistent. He doesn't stay on the field, and he just dances too much for me. I'm all for the whole dancing, but I want Le'Veon Bell, like prime Le'Veon Bell dancing, where you just kind of patient, move around a little bit, and then hit the hole. And I just feel like he never goes. It's just like left to right, juke, and then we get 3 yards. And it's like, okay, if we can do it consistently, but it's too much effort and too much energy to get 3 yards or less. And I like what Gainwell just seems like a guy, almost a mix between like a Miles Sanders and like a Boston Scott. Like he can kind of do all of that pretty well. But to get off track, but I think there are guys like Christian McCaffrey provided he stays healthy, that can go, Alvin Kamara, 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. That's a game changer, but I'm still not going to draft you in the top 10. It's maybe a late first round pick. And that's for teams that are picking late in the first round that were Super Bowl contenders. If I'm the Buccaneers or the Chiefs, I can afford to throw a late first round pick at a guy that could potentially be, a stud. But yeah, we could talk about this forever, but I don't want to go on a rant about it. But did you do an overall like we did last week with the offense?
Overall defense? No, I did not, but I can. And the last thing I wanted to mention about the old running back thing was the reason my mind's changed was like, when Saquon Barkley came out, I was a big Saquon Barkley fan. And I also looked at it from a draft perspective, like, what will you give up for a guarantee? It's not a guarantee. But I just thought he was so good, so special. I didn't have a problem with the Giants drafting him number 2 overall because I would say I knew he was going to be a star, but I didn't know. And he's a star, but he got hurt.
But that's the thing.
I remember a Malcolm Jenkins interview, dude. I think his rookie year, we played them in Philly or in New York. He was amazing. And they interviewed Malcolm Jenkins, like, what do you guys have to say about, you guys missed a lot of tackles today. And Malcolm Jenkins, a leader and accountable guy, he said, yeah, honestly, I don't think that was really about our tackling. I think that was more about the running back. He was so special. But I've changed my mind. And the reason I used to think running back was so big was like, dude, why isn't it? I didn't understand why they're devaluing the position, because you can turn around and give the ball to the guy 20 times a game. And if he's great, it really helps. But you could argue that still. But Barkley, McCaffrey, Kamara, they all have injury issues. In the physical position. It makes more sense to spend less draft capital and less money to have 3 guys. Maybe they're not Christian McCaffrey. They're not. But they're good enough. And every running back needs an offensive line.
Yeah.
So I've pretty much changed my mind on it. Go ahead and do your overall defenses, and I'll kind of piece mine together. I have an idea.
Okay. So I went with Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. I think Eagles' weakest positions are linebacker and safety. But I think our D-line and corners make up for, the difference. Commanders might be the overall best built. If you look from every position, they might be the best built. If you're like, okay, can I count on this guy? Can I count on this guy? But I think our corners are a tad better. We have more depth on the D-line. Cowboys, I think, have a few studs. Van Der Esch, Parsons. I think Diggs can play pretty well. And then Lawrence, if Lawrence comes out and, does what he was expected to do, then they, it's going to see an uptick. But I think depth wise, we kind of win in those categories. And then Giants and Cowboys can be flipped. I think the Cowboys have enough special players to kind of keep them above that. But the Giants are moving in the right direction for sure. Especially if Thibodeau actually turns out to be what he's expected. It's hard to say with rookies, but I think he's legit. I think he's a great pick. But if you don't have anything around him, if people around him aren't performing, then it's not going to matter. Much like if we took everyone away from Fletcher Cox, it would just be him getting doubled constantly. So, but that's how I went. I went Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. And I could honestly, I like what the Giants are doing. I just think that we'll see what the coaching staff changes and stuff are. But yeah, I like what the Giants are doing. I think they could be moved into that 3rd spot. I really think the Cowboys, I've said it a few times, I think there's going to be a downturn on their defense. Could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just think they're not going to play at the level they did last year, and which really wasn't great. They just had a few peak statistics.
So I actually agree 100% on that. And it's the same exact order that I ordered the defensive line
Yeah.
in. Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. The Eagles, I mean, we got a lot of rushers. You know, the linebacker position, I expect to be stronger with Nakobe Dean, Kaiser White, TJ Edwards playing some running downs. Our corners, best cornerback group I've ever seen in my life as an Eagles fan. As far as the top 3 guys, safety, in Pee Wee football, if you're the worst player on the team, where do they put you? Safety. When we were growing up, at least, because when we were growing up, all they did was run the ball in Pee Wee. Maybe they throw more now, but safety, you know, it's kind of like, I mean, you can't play, we'll put you in right field, man.
Yeah.
If the ball comes your way, just like cover your face.
Yeah.
So that safety is definitely our weakest position. But that being said, we got 2 guys who are longtime pros, veterans.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to change. I don't expect them to change the game, but I think, can they not mess up? Can they do what they're supposed to do?
That's where the scheme comes in, because our scheme doesn't require a guy to be a freak athlete. Our scheme requires you just be basic, do your job, don't miss tackles up the middle. You know, if they get past the linebackers, just tackle. You know, cover your side of the field. We're gonna run, you know, that whole bend but don't break, which I don't love, like I said, but you know, if it works, it works. I think we will get to the point where we'll see Kaiser White and Nakobe Dean, and then we'll have Edwards obviously on like obvious rundowns, goal line, stuff like that.
Do you expect anything from Davion Taylor? Maybe mix in. They're trying to probably put him, you know, where they want him to play Kaiser White's position. Kaiser White's on a 1-year deal. Maybe Davion Taylor fills that role next year.
I mean, maybe. I hope. You know, I love the athleticism, but I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like he got enough opportunity. We'd see him here.
He did some good things, but he got hurt.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope, but I mean, adding, you know, Kaiser White, I don't know. I think they added him for a reason. They didn't add him, you know, if they were confident in Davion Taylor, they wouldn't go add a guy that plays just like Davion Taylor, but better. So I think it'll be probably Kaiser White, Edwards, and Nakobe Dean. Passing downs, I think it'll be White and Dean. I'm really, really excited to see what Dean brings to the table. I think
that's probably who I'm most excited to see.
Yeah.
And Jordan Davis, but yeah.
Between him and Jordan Davis for sure.
Yeah, so overall we have the defenses, we both agreed. Eagles 1, Commanders 2, Cowboys 3, Giants 4. And again, like you mentioned, the Commanders are really good. And you know, they lost Matt Ioannidis, was that his name? He was a beast.
Yeah.
He was a beast. Like, and they might have lost another defensive end. I don't recall, but I love what they've done building the D line.
Yeah.
And I've watched them over the last couple of years. I like Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, his athletic ability.
Yeah.
Jamin Davis, in linebacker, obviously. Fast, athletic. Like, their defense is good. Really good. They don't have the top tier corners like the Eagles. So I think that's what kind of separates them. We got Darius Slay and
I think Fuller can play. I like Fuller.
I think Fuller's good. I don't think he's as good as Bradberry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bradberry did have the one great year. But I like Bradberry. I think he's a perfect number 2 opposite of Slay.
He's been number 1 on a lot of teams in the league.
Yeah.
Think about if you put him back on the Giants cornerbacks look really good.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the thing, though. Like, if you take a guy, like, same with, like, receivers. If I take a guy who performed okay as a number 1 and I put him as a number 2, he's going to look that much better. He's going up against, you know, lesser talent. He's not seeing the number 1 corner, and it just obviously opposite side. He's not going to see Devontae Adams every, you know, Slay's going to – I don't know if we're going to shadow the there's been times we've done it where Slay follows someone, but most of the time it just kind of seems like we just play sides, which is fine because it fits the scheme. But no, I think Bradberry will have an upside year for sure.
I think so too.
He doesn't have to cover the number one guy, every down.
Not on a bad team anymore either.
Yeah,
it's hard to play hard. I mean, I guess that's probably not true. If you're a true competitor, you should play hard every game, but it can be kind of demoralizing. Like,
it's a long season, man. It's
not just in the game. It's like an organizational thing, and preparing and doing ridiculous detail stuff.
That's kind of why I feel like I'm beat up on the Giants a lot. Like, McAdoo was a moron. I don't know how he got that job when he had every time I saw that guy talk, I was like, he just puts his foot in his mouth. And I was like, I mean, it's good for us. When the NFC's teams are looking for coaches, I'm like, yeah, you should hire that guy. He seems like an idiot. Like, go hire him. He can't even do an interview and he's going to run your team. I think they held, when the Cowboys held on to Garrett forever. Like,
hey, on the fly, rank the NFC East coaches 1 to 4 right now.
I'm gonna go Commanders. Man, I don't like McCarthy. I think he just had Aaron Rodgers. I'm gonna say,
I don't even know the Giants coach. Let me see. Giants.
Hell, the only one I'm certain on is the Commanders at 1. The Eagles don't have enough experience. I like them.
Brian Daboll is the Giants from the Bills.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, and he doesn't have a lot of experience either. So I'm going to say Commanders. I don't like McCarthy. Commanders, Eagles, Giants, Cowboys. I think Dak's special. And I think having CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper last year, and then Zeke is basically your number 2 running back. Like, I think Pollard outperformed Zeke, yards per carry, and everything.
Yeah, Zeke went for 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah, quietly. It's a good offensive line.
Miles Sanders has never done it.
Oh, that's because we don't give him the ball.
Yeah,
but
I almost agree. I love Ron Rivera.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, well, would I trade Nick Sirianni for Ron Rivera? I wouldn't be upset if it happened, but Ron Rivera is more of a defensive guy, and that I don't like.
I like him.
If you could get a big-time offensive coordinator in and Rivera more of a leader of the team, I like Rivera. So I would go Commanders, Eagles, based on what we've seen on Sirianni first. Cowboys, I don't like Mike McCarthy at all.
Yeah.
At all. Don't think he's anything special as far as a football coach. And then the Giants, just because I haven't seen anything from Brian Daboll as far as a head coach. And he doesn't have Josh Allen. Now he's got Daniel Jones. So we'll see. But I was going to say one more thing.
He was what? He was defensive coordinator, wasn't he?
No, he was an offensive coordinator, I believe.
For the Bills?
I believe Brian Daboll was the Bills' offensive coordinator.
Okay, I could be thinking of something else. Yeah, I agree. I don't like McCarthy. So I could be flipped on 3 and 4, but I like what the Eagles are doing. I like the young kind of different schemes. I like that they know what they want to run. It doesn't like we don't have an identity.
Who's that?
The Eagles, like our coaching staff. I like that. Not that they listen to fans, but I think they just listen to the general consensus. Like, hey, run the ball. Just stop trying to be fancy. You're not the Chiefs. Like, just run the ball. And then we did that, and we become the number 1 rushing team in the league with like no stud running back who's like, we don't have Derrick Henry where we can just give it to him 30 times a game. So I like what they did there. They're just unproven. It's amazing that we made the playoffs after the way we started. But yeah, Rivera
in a rebuild year.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Well, we've covered some ground. This went a little bit longer than we wanted it to, but I guess I do want to do one more thing. That's what I wanted to do earlier. I want to name for the Eagles fans, especially, and for us, for our own enjoyment. I want to rattle off all the rushers. for those who don't know, I'm gonna grab I got their depth chart right here.
We're talking Eagles only?
Yeah, just the Eagles. Just the Eagles.
Okay.
Because we rank the Eagles #1 defense overall. We rank the #1 D-line, the #1 cornerback group. We've gave the Eagles some love. Obviously, we're Eagles fans, but I believe that that's correct.
Yeah.
So
and again, we're open to comments, comment. If you have different opinions, whether you're a Giants, Cowboys, Commanders fan, I'm open to conversation, you know what I mean? Conversations. We're not like some fans are just closed-minded where they're just like, no, we're the best and you guys are not. And that's it. But
if you comment, I'm just going to respond in all caps. You're wrong. And then 10 or 12 exclamation points.
Yeah. No,
I'm trying to be level-headed too, but that's what I'm going to respond.
No, I get it. Everyone thinks their team, you want to think your team has the best positional group or whatever you're talking about, but it's just in reality, you don't. If you did, then you would win the division every single, you know what I mean? If you had the best quarterback, best running back. And so I try to be as unbiased as possible. But yeah, we can rattle this off.
Yeah, let's rattle these rushers off here. So I'll try to do them kind of in order. From a pass rushing standpoint on the Eagles, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox,
Milton Williams,
Davis, Derek Barnett, Milton Williams. Nobody knows this guy. I'm a big fan. Kyron Johnson.
Yeah.
He's the backup Sam linebacker for the Eagles. He was a 6th-round pick. He ran a 4.4 flat. He mauled the 1st-round draft pick at the Senior Bowl. The big, aggressive tackle everybody loved. He mauled him.
Does he beat Davion Taylor?
What's that?
Is he going to beat out Davion Taylor?
They play different positions. Davion Taylor's listed as a weak side linebacker behind Kaiser White. More of a traditional. Kyron Johnson's not a linebacker. He's a the passer.
I feel like since we drafted Taylor that he needs to be just an edge rusher. The athleticism, I don't I don't know. I mean, we've seen some stuff, but when I saw his, you see his combine, you see his pro day, to me, he doesn't seem like a linebacker.
I mean, I'd be open to throwing him out there, right? He's only 6'1", 230.
Yeah.
I don't know how long his arms are. Let's see what Kyron Johnson is. I guess you could. I don't know. I don't see him as an edge rusher, but Kyron Johnson's 6'1", 223. But I don't know. It's a knack. It's a first step quickness. It's complete speed to power. It's just innately. It's an innate ability. Innate meaning you can't really explain it, but this guy just, when he's running full speed up the football field, he understands leverage. Yeah. He picks up his perception on the field and of his opponent is just different. So he sees a guy leaning a little bit. He instinctive. It's you can't teach a guy how to juke somebody.
Right.
You can't teach LaShawn McCoy juke moves. You can't teach somebody to feel that backside linebacker in pursuit and to know he's coming and to lean forward and then pull back.
Right.
That's just an innate ability. I think that's kind of what it is with pass rushing. Some guys just have an innate understanding. It's when they get into contact with a lineman, they have a feel. They can lean them and spin. They know how to dip. They can, ankle flexion. They try to measure all this stuff, right? They try to measure it, and you can do it, but you can never really measure the innate instinctual abilities, and you can't really measure their desire.
Right.
Everybody wants to talk about, they want to be great. So
it's a job interview. That's all it is. When you're interviewing college kids on, what drives you? You tell me they didn't the night before Google Tom Brady quotes and Google
they're all prepared. Their agents prepare them to answer questions and
So
this off topic, but I remember hearing some scouts. I can't talk long about it, but that some scouts will ask some kind of messed up stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to say like one scout asked a guy something weird, like if he dressed like a woman or if he was gay or
Wasn't that it was Darius Geis? There was something along the lines of where he said someone asked him if he was gay in his interview, and I don't know. It might have, I mean, I know he interviewed with the Eagles, and I remember hearing it didn't go well. I don't know what.
He's out of the league, man. Right?
Yeah.
He was a second round pick.
Dude, there's a lot of stuff though like that. Like this is obviously like a movie, but every year before, like on draft day, I'll watch the movie Draft Day. It's like I don't know. I've just been doing it for a few years, and like they do this thing where they're trying to figure out if this number one quarterback, like high prospect, they basically would tape like $100 bill to the back of a playbook or something like that, and they'd send it and say like guys would call and say, hey, like there's $100 in here, so they know that they went through or they would tape it 3/4 of the way through, and the Bo guy didn't mention it, so they're trying to judge his character based off of it, and then they say, oh, what about the $100 bill in there? You didn't find that? He's like, oh, I did find, and then it was like, so when they confronted him about lying, he doubled down and lied again. And then the other guys that didn't say anything, like, I didn't get to that page. I was just tired. Like they would confess, and he was the one that, so they're trying to judge character. So these questions they're relevant. You're trying to see what, like, just like you would with a job interview. You're trying to get a feel for a guy's, does he have morals? Where's his head at? Like, so yeah, it's something you'll probably never be able to judge fully, but who knows?
And then the last two rushers, sleepers, Teron Jackson, Patrick Johnson. Also, we signed Marvin Wilson.
Yeah,
a good player at Florida State. He's bounced around a little bit, but he was a good player. He's 6'4". He used to be listed at 6'5". I was happy to see that we grabbed him. Because he was supposed to be he had a chance to be like a second round pick, I thought. So,
yeah.
We'll see. Well, we went over. Any last words, Ryan?
No, I don't. Like I said, comment, like the video, like and subscribe, but, comment your opinions. We're open to discussions, talking about things. We're not experts. We don't consider ourselves experts. We just love football and love the Eagles. And that's kind of the whole idea of this page, just to, discuss these things we talk about anyway. So, yeah, that's it.
Well, guys, thanks for watching. This is Bird Brothers episode 5. We do show usually about once a week is a kind of a goal. That's what we're shooting for. And again, 2 brothers in Ohio, lifelong Eagles fans. We appreciate the support. Please like the video and subscribe so more people can see it. And we'll see you next time. Have a good day.